Section 15 of Welsh Fairy Tales and Other Stories. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Ellie-Cat. Welsh Fairy Tales and Other Stories by P.H. Emerson. Section 15. The Pellings. In a meadow belonging to Ystrad, bounded by the river which falls from Cuillin Lake, they say the fairies used to assemble and dance in fair moonlit nights. One evening a young man, who was the heir and occupier of this farm, hid himself in a thicket close to the spot where they used to gambol. Presently they appeared, and when in their merry mood, out he bounced from his covert, and seized one of their females. The rest of the company dispersed themselves, and disappeared in an instant. Disregarding her struggles and screams, he hauled her to his home, where he treated her so very kindly that she became contented to live with him as his maidservant, but he could not prevail upon her to tell him her name. Some time after, happening again to see the fairies upon the same spot, he heard one of them saying, "The last time we met here our sister Penelope was snatched away from us by one of the mortals." Rejoiced at knowing the name of his incognita, he returned home, and as she was very beautiful and extremely active, he proposed to marry her, which she would not for a long time consent to. At last, however, she complied, but on this condition, that if ever he should strike her with iron, she would leave him, and never return to him again. They lived happily for many years together, and he had by her a son and a daughter, and by her industry and prudent management as housewife, he became one of the richest men in the country. He farmed, besides his own freehold, all the lands on the north side of Nanty Bitus to the top of Snowdon, and all Coombe Bwrinog in Llanberis, an extent of about 5,000 acres or upwards. Unfortunately, one day Penelope followed her husband into the field to catch a horse, and he, being in a rage at the animal as he ran away from him, threw at him the bridle that was in his hand, which unluckily fell on poor Penelope. She disappeared in an instant, and he never saw her afterwards, but he heard her voice in the window of his room one night after, requesting him to take care of the children in these words: "Rag bod anuid av mab, un roth rok ar no go be dad. Rag bod anuif ar luer khan, rathuk ar ni bias imam." That is, "Oh, lest my son should suffer cold, him in his father's coat enfold; lest cold should seize my darling fair, for her her mother's robe prepare." These children and their descendants they say were called Pellings, a word corrupted from their mother's name, Penelope. End of Section 15.